So the title of the show is Going Where the Climate Suits My Clothes. It's just a line from a song by Harry Nilsson. I think it was played in Midnight Cowboy. But basically this yearning to escape urban oppression and loneliness and to go to a kind of semi-tropical paradise. And I thought it would be a good way, sort of a portal with which to enter this exhibition. As you can see, it's a very colorful show, and at first glance, it doesn't seem to speak of anything dark or depressing, but it does. So it is actually talking about climate change, but through a very psychedelic, colorful, and absurd lens. So I'm actually sitting in front of a painting, and it's called Only 4 Degrees. So the title refers to what scientists have been telling us for quite a long time, that as a species and as a planet, we cannot afford a 4 degree Celsius temperature rise. It will lead to our own extinction. So what we have here behind me are boats that have been turned upside down, buildings that are crashing, and the sad detritus of human invention and excess. In the middle of it all is this lone individual, this character, who single-handedly is trying to power up his laptop with using pineapple power. He won't get too far with this enterprise. It's kind of a chaotic notion, trying to achieve things in this manner. Actually, in March, my son, 11-year-old son, started making these stop-motion animations. So he was kind of the inspiration for this. And I asked him, wouldn't you like to do something? And I will invite your class to join the stage with me at the Kelowna Art Gallery. So he really liked the idea. We basically wrote the script and prepared the prototypes for the props, and went to the school with the teacher's permission and built props and sets, and there were quite a few sets for this. The central idea was to use this painting behind me as the reference, as the source. And something that's, we've seen a lot throughout art history is remakes of certain, famous paintings called tableaux vivants, or living paintings. So I thought, let's just use this as a reference and build a narrative around that. So I also invited my nephew, who has studied music, and he's actually a musician, to write the score for the animation, which he did. And so it became kind of a family/community project. After I'm finished painting a large group of works, I will try to imagine how some of these objects or flora that exist in the paintings, how could I realize them in 3D form? So it's just sort of an extension of the landscape that exists in the painting, so you actually have it in front of you, so it's sort of like it's leapt off the canvas and onto this plinth. They're basically hybrid forms of plants that don't actually exist, save for the palms maybe, but I used papier-mâché and only found objects. I just thought, I'll add another challenge to this project. Can I just make it from, junk that I find or stuff that I pick up in thrift stores for, the armatures and so on. But basically, you could call them freak specimens in this, post-hurricane or post-drought world. What will our vegetation look like? When I'm, painting, it's more an accumulation of things that keep me up at night and prevent me from sleeping a good, deep, comfortable, dreamless sleep. So I go into my studio and just try to work those things out there. So the volcanoes, I thought, how can we shift the blame of climate change on someone else or something else? And I thought, well, volcanoes in the past have affected, in a very dramatic way, world climate. So rather than blame the excesses of humans, mainly in developed countries, naturally, let's just blame the volcanoes for everything. So we've got this large painting that says we have the best sunsets. So these, gorgeous sunsets that are the result of particles in the air that we breathe, or this mirage-like drawing of a family wearing big gas masks. So, when you look at hot asphalt, how you can see the squiggles, that it appears that, the people are sort of distorted. And then Goodbye Sun, this person seen from the back is just waving goodbye to this red sun. This group, for instance, is more figurative than I have done in the past. I think it's sometimes easier for me to develop an idea, or at least to lend it some kind of clarity by not delving completely into abstraction. I think I've tried to do that, where I've brought my paintings sort of to the brink of total defragmentation, not defragmentation, sorry, that's not the right word I was looking for, but to deterioration, that you tend to lose your ground or your thread. And it's a lot harder for viewers to comprehend what you're trying to say if you let your paintings deteriorate completely into a form of abstraction. So that's why I pulled away from that, from former paintings, to something that is more obvious. I don't want to say illustrative, but definitely more figurative, so easier to kind of carry an idea or a concept that way. And earlier works have always used the landscape as a stage in which to explore ideas that are related to, say, stitching together conflicting identities, or war, or oppression. I mean, these are all really heavy ideas, so I prefer the back door approach, so to speak. And as you mentioned earlier, humor, to kind of camouflage some of those ideas, so they're not so direct, because nobody wants a book thrown at them when they go see an exhibition. I really don't know what people expect to take away from exhibitions in general, or mine specifically. But when I go to see shows, I'm actually looking very closely at the way things are painted. So very much from a painter's perspective, like, oh wow, how did she do that? How did she do that? Or how did he do that? Or I wish I'd thought of that myself. But also to walk away with that kind of feeling of something isn't perfectly clear either, that maybe some underlying frequency lingers and sort of stays with you. So I think that's usually a sign of a good show, that it's not just clever copywriting and mere execution of those ideas, but that there is something else there that I guess you could say that is like the artist, that person does come through in her own work.